Getting those fall crops ready. We got some broccoli, cauliflower, bok choy, kale, lettuce, spinach. We got a lot of stuff going. It's looking good. I hope you enjoyed the video. So what I'm going to be starting with is emptying out some of the soil that I have used in potting, other planting. Let me get some gloves on here. Some of the stuff I had like cuttings in the soil, and the cuttings didn't take, so I'm going to reuse the soil. And please don't I got two different gloves here. I ran out of the more thicker gloves. I got to order some more, so I got some thinner gloves that I'm going to work with. And I use the gloves because sometimes there's spiders, sometimes there's other bugs roaming around in there, and I just prefer not to get bit by any more carpenter ants or spiders. No, this one looks like some garden soil here. I'm gonna dump out a lot what I have here. Zero waste. I don't like to waste anything. Certain amendments, I just add what it needs. Maybe some organic matter. I might go get some compost, add that in here. I kind of feel it out and see what I like and getting the right consistency that I'm looking for. We are going to reuse this soil, like I said. And then I'll bring the bin a little closer to the camera. Use the soil anyways. So these were soil blocks that I used before. And I'm going to use them again. But I think these are the ones that the seeds didn't take. And I only put one seed in each one. So we're going to reuse these. I'm just going to break those up. We're going to compost these. So we'll empty out this tray here. So these are cool. I use them. Like I had some before. Some have like 2 trays that I already did some cabbage and broccoli in. But these are not my preference because they too flimsy. You see how they get holes in them. They break easy. Maybe you get a better view if I stick this finger in. Like these are all cracked and they've only been used like once or twice. And then, you know, they're kind of a little bit harder to get out. Not my preference in how I like to plant. There's so many different reasons why I like soil blocks. I think I've explained it in prior videos. Maybe if you go back, you might be able to see some videos I did on soil blocks. We're going to dump this tray also. Some old soil blocks. They're kind of like mushing together, but you can kind of see they're still cubed up. But we're going to break these up right here. But I got to, oh, sheesh. Dump that. Is this enough? Just want to mix this up with that sandy mixture. I got plenty of soil here. Might as well just dump this in here too. Dump this out. Get this out the way. Okay. We definitely don't need any more soil than this. This is a lot right here. Might be too much now. But I definitely want to thin out that sandy mixture. Like if there's any like really big sticks or twigs, I'll take them out. But I'm not overly concerned with like little small sticks and stuff because the roots will still permeate through. My biggest concern is the soil that's on the top layer. So I use regular potting soil or garden soil for the growing medium for the soil blocks, but the top layer I use seed starting mix because that is the thinnest, easiest layer that the seed can pop through, and we don't want anything, the sticks or anything that may be in here obstructing the seedling from popping through the top. So that's the most important part for me. Like I said, this is my preference. I'm going to add in a little bit of coconut coir. I have a little mixture that I think just works really well with keeping the soil blocks binded together, because I've had soil blocks that sat outside for a year and a half almost, and they still didn't break down. It doesn't matter if I had these soil blocks and they got rained on, Some people, they're like, don't top water your soil blocks because it's going to make them mush together. And depending on your mixture, yes, that can happen. That is a thing. But I have a good mixture where, like, I can top water, bottom water, doesn't really matter. The top watering can make it more susceptible to maybe getting moss on top. It comes with growing. You have nutrients, you have soil, it has nutrients, you have sunlight, you have water. You know, there's a high probability that you might end up with some moss on your plants, depending on how long that soil is sitting there. So it comes with the territory. Now there are things to do that you can do about alleviating moss on like things that are potted and with just keeping the soil covered. As far as the soil blocks, I'm not going through the hassle of covering up every little soil block just so that the moss doesn't grow. They're not going to be in the soil blocks just exposed like that for too long. Once they start the germination process and they come out and they're good to go, put them right in the ground, right in my growing medium where they're going to live permanently, and it's over. Now we're going to add some perlite. One of the things I like to do, I like to grind it up some. I mean, when I add in some water, the water's going to, almost like it kind of melts it down a little bit. It's going to dissolve it some. So this is partly used to be like more of like a binding agent also. Add some more. That should be about right. Let's see how we're looking. Let's get that mixed up in there nice and evenly. Because I usually use like a bigger plastic container, and this tub I found at Home Depot one day. I think this is a concrete mixing tub, but I really love how this is not as high, and it's pretty durable. So I don't know if it's like more of like a plastic rubber. Some of the other containers I'm using is like a thinner plastic, and they've broken on me in the past. But this tray I really love for doing soil blocks in. So I have plenty of space to work. It's a nice sized tub. I don't have to keep going back and refilling it. But it's not too high where it's like uncomfortable to work with. Now it's time to add some water. Just wetting this mixture down. Add in, and then start mixing. You want to add in, a little bit at a time. And you want it to feel kind of like damp, where it's like not too wet. You don't want a puddle at the bottom, but you want it nice and soaked down. So you, like I said, you're squeezing out. You're having to squeeze out water. But if you add too much water, it becomes problematic. You got to kind of like drain it out and do a lot of squeezing. So add in little by little. Almost like, if you're cooking, you can always add more salt, but you can't take salt out the food. So it's like one of those kind of things. Mix that up. And don't be afraid to test it. If you're not sure how much water you need, get your soil blocker. So I'm using a 2-inch soil blocker today. This is the only soil blocker. No, it's not the only soil blocker I have. I have bigger ones, but I don't have smaller soil blocks. So this is what I'm working with. If I'm doing stuff like lettuce, maybe like a 1-inch or a 3/4 or a 1/2-inch soil blocks would be ideal. So I'm not using up so much soil. But today, the smallest one I have is the 2-inch soil blocker. So that's what we're working with. My personal preference is I like to have like a little bit more moisture in it. Now I can definitely squeeze some water out, but I still like my mixture just a little bit more wet. Just for intents and purposes for the video, I'm just gonna show you how the first ones come out, just so you can see how well the mixture is or not. Now you wanna fill in, get numerous pushes everywhere, try to fill in all the gaps you can, and then take a look. And I like to just feel. I like to push in and just feel for any gaps, because sometimes you'll have gaps in the corners or whatever, but you can't really see it until you push in and feel it a little bit, and then your finger might go in a little bit, and you'll be able to feel where the gaps are. But we're nice and flat. Anything extra on outsides, I like to wipe off, so we're nice and clean with the soil blocks. And then I want to drop this on the tray and see how we're looking. And you want to give nice and easy, and then give a few little pulls like that, and then you see we have 8 decent soil blocks. Now these aren't bad. No, they're not bad. I can live with that. I might rock with that. Don't necessarily need any more water. I just prefer a little bit more sometimes. Let's get to work and we'll get making some more. This 2-inch soil blocker, I get 24 soil blocks on a tray. So like I'm missing some right there. So sometimes if I'm a little high in some places, a little low in some places, I'll just move that around, play with it a little bit, and just push them in there by hand. Fill those gaps, even that out by hand. And squeeze that right there. Take off whatever's on the outside. That's good. And drop that down. The first time you're pulling up, come up nice and easy. And then give a little shake like that. That looks good. It may be a little bit more time consuming than one of those other trays. One of these trays like this, but you're saving money and your plants will be a little bit healthier, I think. It's my opinion, it's my preference. And that's 24 soil blocks right there. So there's another 24 right there. If you can see in the camera, they already have divots for dropping the seed in. And drop it down. There we go. It's another 24 right there. Got 4 trays, so I'll move this out the way here. I like to work with a cleaner work surface. I have seeds. I have things to mark each one. Sometimes I'll just put tape on it. You see this green tape here, organic seed starting mix here. And again, this is not the only way to do it. This is how I do it. The mixture is like dust. So I'm gonna drop my seeds. I'm gonna drop 2 in each one in case one doesn't germinate. Sometimes, I kind of fight with myself on whether I wanna drop 2 seeds or not, because a lot of times one gets terminated. If they both germinate, one gets terminated. Now, you can open that up and separate them and then try to plant 2. I hate killing off plants, feeling like I'm throwing away food potentially. A lot of times I might break that open nice and easy and then plant each one where I'm going to start planting stuff. But ideally, what people do is you drop 2 in each one. If they both germinate, whichever one is doing the worst, you pull out. Whichever one is doing the best, leave it in, let it thrive, and you have a healthy plant. Let's go with some cauliflower. And what I like to do is I like to put some on this little, it's called a spoon here. This little garden utensil. I'll put some on this spoon here. And I'm going to use this little tool that has a little pointy end on it. And I'm going to take and put 2 in each one. Just like that. This can be a really tedious process. And if you don't have good tools, you end up putting more than you intended. Okay, so we got all these seeded right here. So I'm just gonna put this down and I'm just gonna cover these. So the whole block does not need to be covered. You just really want to cover the little hole there. The seed starting mix is light, it's like dusty, so it can blow around really easy. So even with a spray bottle, So what I do is when I finish these off, if I'm indoors, I use a spray bottle. And I don't spray it from the side, I spray it from the top. Spray it from the top coming down and give it a nice distance so it doesn't blow. If it's too close, the spray and the pressure from the spray bottle can blow a lot of that off. And that's not what we want. So I keep it up higher from a higher distance and slowly give a light mist onto it first so that it weights down the mixture right here, the seed starting mixture. Once it gets weighted down, you see it's got a little bit dampness, then you could go a little harder and give a little harder spray so that it permeates through that to the seed. And I'm about to spray this with the mist part of the sprayer. So I mist it. And then once it kind of gets damp, then I could go a little harder with the mist. So I definitely want it to permeate through. Not too much, because you don't want your soil blocks getting muddy and muddying up everything. But that's the gist of it. It permeated through, and now I put this in my greenhouse. I'm gonna actually do another tray of cauliflower. So one fell off to the side. Just gonna throw that right back in there. And I was just amazed at the fact that I can have almost free food, aside from the cost of the soil and the seeds. But the seeds weren't inexpensive relatively for what I got from it. But I gotta throw some markers on here so we know what we're growing. I don't want to get mixed up because I'm moving on to a different vegetable now. This is Snowball Y cauliflower. Snowball and the letter Y. It's an odd name. I'd like to know where that came from, that name. All right. Now that that's done, all right, let's go with the spinach next. Here, these seeds are a little bit bigger, so I'll drop these in by hand. I don't even need the tools on this one. These are spinach. This one is baby greens spinach from Botanical Interest. But everybody can do this, and we all don't have to be spraying our lawns and relying on the food chain, because there may come a point in time where there may be issues with the food chain, and now people are at a loss for what to do. And that's when panic happens, and I don't even want to imagine what people will do when they don't have food or don't have access to food, can't feed their families, can't feed their kids. So this, I feel, is just the natural order of things for how much land I have, my wife and I, and what if, what if something happens to the supply chain? What if I lose my job? What if, there's a lot of what ifs that could happen that we could be like, that we should grow because of the what ifs. So it's very important. If war breaks out in, just, there is no, your local grocery store, everybody panic buys, for example. You may, it may become time where it's like, okay, you were about to go shopping tomorrow or the next day, but something happens and everybody goes and panic buys. So it's not that there was a disruption in the supply chain, but everybody panic bought, and now there's nothing at the grocery store, and now you don't have food. It could happen. So I think everybody should start learning how to grow their own food, become resourceful. Canning. What happens if the power grid goes down? What are you going to do? All right? Canning will help, so where it's like, okay, your refrigerator goes down. Does that mean that all your food spoils? What do you do? Do you have a backup generator in case your power goes out? That's important. Maybe you get a backup generator. Maybe you acquire some solar panels and a backup, some source to at least keep your refrigerator going or freezer going so that your food doesn't spoil, because you need to eat. Everybody needs to eat to survive. What are the essentials or how are you protecting the essential things that keep life going? The power grid goes down, what do you do? Do you have a means of defense? For me, I'm like, okay, I grow so much food. What if, not trying to fear monger, but what if something happens and the only one in my neighborhood that has food growing and I have no way to protect it? So that's also important, something to think about. All right, so just gonna drop that right on there. It's out the way. I'm not gonna hold you for the whole video of me just going through this process over and over and over and over again. I have Tuscan kale in the ground right now already, so I don't need more of that at the moment. I'll start with this one, Premier Kale. A lot of times I'll use the ones that's open because they're older seeds. You definitely want to not have seeds sitting for too long and they become not as viable. It's a waste of money. This is very tedious, man. Each year, my goal is to just do more and more and more than the year before. Get better at what I'm doing, more efficient at what I'm doing, and just do more. So I'm just trying to see, what works best, what vegetables work best growing in the arborist wood chips, because everything didn't do well. I experimented a lot. I tried onions in the wood chips. I tried beets in the wood chips. A lot of those root vegetables didn't do great in the wood chips, but like some of the above ground vegetables, but that are just rooted in it, a lot of that stuff is growing very good and is thriving. So a lot of the peppers, tomatoes, lettuce, kale. I have strawberries in wood chips, and they're spreading. Sunflowers, tomatoes, so much stuff that I have directly in wood chips that's doing great. And it's time to spray everything down. Like I said, you keep the hose up higher so it doesn't blow any of the mixture around. Let it get dampened first before you go a little bit harder with the spray. Okay, now it's good to go. And just only spray enough so that it permeates the top, the seed starting mix. I mean, that looks about good. I appreciate you for watching. Like I said, if you like this video, please give me the thumbs up. Please subscribe. Refer me to friends, loved ones, relatives, whoever you think wants to learn about growing and growing regeneratively, helping your community, and just learning to become self-sufficient. All right, I'm checking out. Terrence, Rue Healthy Plants. I'll see you on the next video.